Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Tales of Herding God Part 127 based on novel. So let's start. On the circular plate, Qin Mu and numerous officials of Ministry of Works moved around rapidly to check on the runes of every meeting point between the components. When they were sure there were no problems, Qin Mu gave an order, and huge beasts pulled over large carts. The numerous apothecaries on the carts immediately jumped down, and moved medicinal stones onto the circular base. Start the furnace, Qin Mu ordered. Start the furnace. 56 pill furnaces were started as medicinal stones were poured into them. Each and every apothecary executed their vital qi to ignite them, and flames instantly blazed to life. The flames turned from red to white before changing to green and then to blue. This incomparably terrifying energy rapidly coursed through the formation markings and runes on the circular plate, activating the full formation. Below the circular plate, the 4 strong practitioners of the cult master level immediately felt a decrease in pressure. The huge cannon battery actually didn't need them to lift it up anymore, it could float by itself. The officials praised such a sight. Supernaturally fine craft, truly a supernaturally fine craft. Emperor Yanfeng's expression wasn't too good. Qin Mu mainly wanted to piece the base of the divine cannon, and test the operation of the pill furnaces and formation. However, just testing the pill furnace required the same amount of medicinal stones as medium-scale war. It's not his money that's being spent. Emperor Yanfeng felt a pain in his heart. Qin Mu finished the examination, and jumped down from the base. He then said in a loud voice, "Extinguish the furnaces and lower the base." The pill furnaces gradually extinguished, and the huge base that was floating in the sky also slowly landed on the ground. Even so, wind was raised and blew past everyone in gales. Their clothes fluttered, and their faces suffered from the air pressure. The air currents quelled. Qin Mu said loudly, "Apothecaries, prepare the medicinal stones. Once the cannon's frame and the light-gathering forks are done, we'll activate the pill furnaces again." The apothecaries accepted the order. Emperor Yanfeng's face paled, and he ordered someone to invite Qin Mu over. He asked him with a pleasant face, "Supervisor Qin, why do you still need to activate the pill furnaces?" "Your Majesty, there are too many components in Sunshot Divine Cannon, so it's hard to prevent mistakes. Thus after the cannon's frame and light-gathering forks are done, I will need to activate it again to check if anything had gone wrong." Emperor Yanfeng beamed at him and said, "How many more times do you need to activate it? If there's no mistake, 2-3 times will be enough." Qin Mu calculated it for a moment and said, "If there's something wrong, we will need to check where the problem is, and in that case, I can't say how many times we will have to activate it. Especially at the position of the divine eye, which uses tenon structure, and 3-dimensional pinion suspension structure. This leads to it being extremely complicated, so the chances of making a mistake are much higher. Don't worry, Your Majesty, with so many algebra experts here, we will definitely find the mistake in the shortest amount of time. I will try to control the number of activations, to not go over 10, to not spend too much money. Your Majesty, the next time the furnace will be started shall be half a month later, may Your Majesty." "In that case, that's good, that's good. I won't be coming, so you shall settle everything yourself. Government Minister, escort me back to the palace." Qin Mu saw the emperor off, as he got escorted back by a few officials while shaking. He was bewildered in his heart. Could the emperor have not healed yet? That's not right, Little Poison King and I had clearly cured him. Xu Shenghua looked at the huge circular plate with a grim face. Qin Mu walked over to him with a smile and asked, "Brother Xu, what do you think about this cannon battery?" "It's the work of gods, a supernaturally fine craft." Xu Shenghua took a glance at him and said, "Brother Qin spends all his energy on things like this, So I think that he will soon be defeated by me. You're a divine physician and also a heavenly worker at the same time, which makes it impossible for you to place all your energy on cultivation. As time goes by, your cultivation will be surpassed by mine and you'll suffer a crushing defeat. Brother Shu knows how to use mind tactics. Qin Mu smiled and said, "You don't want me to forge this divine cannon, and also want to beat down on my confidence. However, to me, no matter if it's the art of healing or the heavenly works, they are both a kind of cultivation where I can apply my abilities. Actually, if I wanted to defeat you, it would be very simple for me to poison you or even forge a powerful weapon to blow you into smithereens, for these are also my abilities." Xu Xinghua's heart sunk, and he said, "Those aren't true means." Qin Mu laughed loudly and patted his shoulder. "We as the overlord bodies. Whatever we learn, we can't just focus on cultivation. The next time you challenge me, will you know if I decide to beat you with bare hands, poison you, or smash you with treasures? The fee for my treatment is 1,000 great abundance coins, so pay them to me as soon as possible and don't owe me any favors. After that, you can challenge me again. I'll wait for you." Xu Xinghua was stunned. Suddenly, a young girl came skipping over with 3 white tails swaying behind her. She quickly wrote down a certificate of debt before saying with a loud and crisp voice, "Young Master Xu, please sign." Xu Xinghua signed in a daze, and the girl put away that certificate of debt with utmost care before following Qin Mu to leave. "I've come down from high heavens, and not only did I not kill the human emperor, I even got indebted to him, owing him 1,000 great abundance coins." Xu Xinghua shook his head and sighed ruefully in his heart. "How am I supposed to return like this? Yu Liu, Jing Yang, how can I earn money?" Yu Liu and Jing Yang were also unable to find a solution. The fastest way to earn money was to sell treasures, and they had brought quite a number of them from high heavens, so they were fine with selling a few pieces. However, when Xu Xinghua had fallen ill, they had sold all they could sell. Only the jade vase and peeper were left. These two were Star Sovereign Qiao's treasures, so they absolutely couldn't sell them. "I'm proficient in music, can that be exchanged for money?" asked Xu Xinghua. "Young master wants to sell his singing service." Jing Yang cried out. "How is this feasible? Besides, singing doesn't make much. I also have some knowledge on forging spirit weapons. Maybe I can forge a few spirit weapons to exchange for money," Xu Xinghua muttered. "Young master is planning to be a blacksmith." Xu Xinghua smiled and said, "I'm an overlord body, it's fine if I don't learn, but if I learn, I'll definitely be the best. Don't worry, even as a blacksmith, I'll definitely be the best. I'll definitely not be any inferior to that human Emperor Qin, that overlord body." Jin Yang and Yu Yu revealed worried expressions when they looked at one another. They thought to themselves, "Young Master Shu probably won't be going to high heavens anymore. His heart is no longer the one he had when he was in high heavens." When Qin Mu met Xu Xinghua again a month later, it was in a smithy. The most outstanding disciple of high heavens no longer had the flawless and untainted image like in the past. He was currently wielding a huge hammer to deal with black gold. When Qin Mu came to the smithy, he saw Xu Xinghua with an apron. This was to prevent sparks from burning his clothes. However, his originally bright robe had long become similar to a rag cloth. He was forging a hairpin, and had hammered the black gold 1,000 times. He hammered it into the thinnest gold paper, before folding it to finally forge the shape of the hairpin. An accessory forged with this method would have the finest vein lines, and be what the upper-class women loved the most. As a matter of fact, Xu Xinghua had made himself quite a reputation in the blacksmith circle of the capital. There were quite a number of divine arts practitioners of 6 directions realm, who had come to find him to forge spirit weapons. There were also quite a number of nobles who wanted strange weapons like hairpins and bracelets. Divine arts practitioners of 6 directions realm required a forging expert to forge the spirit weapon they had given birth to in their divine treasure. Thus the ability of the forging master was very important. Xu Xinghua was very clever and could forge all kinds of spirit weapons well. His technique and divine arts had myriad changes, and he could forge spirit weapons which were compatible with the divine arts practitioners. Human Emperor Qin, take a seat in the shop first. I'll come over once I'm done with the hairpin. Xu Xinghua saw him coming and shouted into the shop, Yang Zi, Human Emperor is here, help me attend to him first. Qin Mu walked into the ship and smiled. It's fine just calling me Cult Master. When you call me Human Emperor, it just keeps reminding me that you and I are enemies. Jing Yang wore the clothes of a village girl, having replaced the gorgeous and elegant clothes she had come with from high heavens. She carried a pot of tea and invited Qin Mu to take a seat. The tea was plain. When Xu Xinghua and Qin Mu had met for the first time, he had served him with the best tea in high heavens, and it had been the best tea Qin Mu had drunk. It was called Green Destiny. Yet what he was served at that moment was the most ordinary tea. There's no more good tea. Cult Master Qin, please forgive us. Jing Yang blushed with shame and poured the tea for him. We have finished Green Destiny tea last month, she said in a low voice. Qin Mu took a sip and said, I'm also used to plain tea. How did you buy this shop? Young Master had originally bought a house in the capital, so we sold it to buy this shop. Jing Yang then added, Sister Yu Liu couldn't get used to this kind of hardship, so she found an excuse to leave and return to high heavens. Only I'm left to stay with young Master. Qin Mu invited her to take a seat as well. He smiled and said, You're a good maiden. Xu Xinghua lifted the curtain and walked in with a towel in his hands, having just washed his hands. He hung the towel behind the curtain and came to the table to sit down, pouring a cup of tea for himself. He drank it in one gulp and poured another cup for himself. Jing Yang wanted to stand up, but Xu Xinghua waved his hand and said, There are no rules here. You are the mistress of our smithy, so just take a seat. Jing Yang could only remain seated after such words. Qin Mu's gaze flickered and he smiled. Brother Xu, how's your daily life? Xu Xinghua sighed and shook his head. It's not too good, but it's very fulfilling. I never knew it was so hard to earn money, since I had never had to worry about money in high heavens. But now, I actually know how great is the worth of a great abundance coin. Brother Qin, you paid a great abundance coin for 10 bowls of noodles, truly a waste. It's more than enough to buy 100 bowls of noodles. Qin Mu looked at him blankly and said, I'm also not sure about how much a great abundance coin is worth. I rarely lacked money, so I usually pay with a great abundance coin when I go out to eat. You have never been poor before. Xu Xinghua drank a few more cups of tea and let out a shaky breath. He said, The money I've earned during these days is still not enough. Give me some more time. I should be able to pay you in about 2 years' time. Qin Mu smiled and said, It's small money, so I'm not in a hurry. Linga will keep it in mind better than me. I'm here to invite you to observe the ceremony. Sunshot Divine Cannon is already done. Xu Xinghua was stunned for a moment, then sighed. You used 2 months to design and build a divine cannon, yet I could only forge spirit weapons in this smithy. 15 days ago, I had felt you starting the furnace twice. You should have been testing the cannon's frame, right? That's right. Qin Mu drank the tea in his cup in one gulp and said, I used the power of the entire empire to forge that Sunshot Divine Cannon, and didn't charge for it as I had no lack of money. If I charged, even the emperor wouldn't have been able to pay me. Let's go and take a look. Xu Xinghua stood up and removed the apron. He said to Jing Yang, Follow me as well. Jing Yang agreed and the 3 of them walked out of the smithy and headed for the outskirts. When they reached their goal, they saw a large spirit weapon that covered an area of 66 hectares. The eyeball in the center of the huge cannon battery had been forged and floated between the light-gathering forks. Hundreds of divine arts practitioners were on the cannon battery measuring something busily. The three of them walked to the front. Xu Xinghua and Jing Yang were full of astonishment as they raised their heads to look at the humongous object. It was very hard to imagine how Qin Mu had only used 2 months and more to forge that kind of terrifying spirit weapon. Of course, it wasn't the work of Qin Mu alone. Instead, it was the fruit of all the algebra experts and forging masters of all Eternal Peace Empire putting their wisdom together. Even if among them, Qin Mu's contribution was the greatest. If it wasn't for his design and him improving the craft of forging, it would have been impossible for the forging standard of Eternal Peace Empire to create such a heaven-defying treasure. Qin Mu had pushed the Eternal Peace Empire's craft of forging forward by 100 years. The emperor and the civil and military officials had all arrived. There were also high officials and nobles from the capital, as well as the commoners gathered around to look at the sunshot divine cannon starting up. Even village chief, Hermit Qingyu, and the rest of the people hurried over to see the divine cannon fire. Pill furnace inspection normal. No cracks found, an official from Ministry of Works shouted out loudly. Formation markings inspection normal. No break in connection found. Runes inspection normal. Cannon's frame inspection normal. Light gathering forks inspection normal. Divine eye inspection normal. Voices rang one after another, and Shan Yushin looked at Qin Mu who kept nodding his head. Shan Yushin said loudly, "Number 1 pill furnace ignited, strength test, maximum firepower." After a moment, an apothecary beside the pill furnace shouted, "Number 1 pill furnace at maximum firepower, results are normal. Number 2 pill furnace ignite for test. Number 2 pill furnace at maximum firepower, results are normal." Xu Xinghua looked at this kind of test method and was instantly stunned. He muttered, "Cult Master Qin, when will I ever reach your standard in the craft of forging? My smithy is simply too shabby." Qin Mu swiftly consoled him. "Don't worry, everyone comes to the top step by step. I also had my bad days." "Really?" Xu Xinghua asked suspiciously. Qin Mu thought and shook his head, "No. Not long after I left the village, I had already become renowned in the world." Xu Xinghua was silent for a moment, then said, "Cult Master Qin, you will be beaten to death sooner or later if you keep consoling people like this. However, when I was at the village, I picked up the iron hammer when I was 5 and I learned painting from Grandpa Deaf." Qin Mu had an indifferent expression. "You only picked up the iron hammer, and do not know how much hard work I put in it over the 10 years. Xu Xinghua nodded and said, "Overlord body is not something that can achieve success without hard work. I've benefited from your advice." Finally, the 56 furnaces were at maximum firepower. Instantly, all the runes on the base of Sunshot Divine Cannon lit up, and all of the formations were activated. The huge cannon battery gradually rose into the sky, and waves of terrifying power bloomed, shaking the space around continuously. The energy in 56 pill furnaces flooded frantically toward the light-gathering forks, and through them they transformed into 4 thick beams that tunneled into the center of the huge divine eye. Sounds of gears rotating came from the inside of the divine eye, their speed becoming faster and faster. Suddenly, the sound vanished, and the 240 yards divine eye seemed to turn into void. All kinds of formations in it were activated one after another, and the black gold, black iron, divine gold, and other divine materials used to form it all vanished. They were all replaced by a divine eye bathed in divine light. The eye was closed. GRK. The huge eye rotated on top of the cannon battery, and the sound of wind that it brought with it was scary. But the throbbing from the eye was even more terrifying. Even the strong practitioners of the cult master level felt fear in their hearts. Cult Master Qin. Shan Yushin bowed toward Qin Mu while standing on the cannon battery. The preparations for Sunshot Divine Cannon are done. Qin Mu rose and said to Emperor Yangfeng, "Your Majesty, please." Emperor Yangfeng took in a deep breath and led all the civil and military officials to fly up onto the cannon battery. He said solemnly, "Supervisor Qin, you have been busy for the past 2 months, so you should be the one to fire this shot." Qin Mu acknowledged his words, and Shan Yushin brought over a jade plate. Qin Mu executed his vital qi, and the jade plate burst forth with dazzling lights. The rays shone and transformed into a light screen that was 3 feet wide. It showed the sight of the surroundings. Qin Mu gently touched the screen shown by the jade plate, and the divine eye of Sunshot Divine Cannon rotated with this move. Qin Mu adjusted the direction of the divine eye to aim at the sky. He tapped on the jade plate, and the eye opened suddenly, ripping the world above apart. The sky trembled violently as a tear was opened up. Everyone instantly saw a black mark spread above, which tore the sky open. In the meantime, the beam of light vanished without a trace. After a moment, a rumbling came from beyond the sky. It sounded like 10,000 thunders booming at once. A huge tear appeared in the sky, a void within it. Sometime later, it started to slowly heal. Xu Xinghua's heart became heavier and heavier. No one in high heavens could be able to hold against such a cannon. Even if it was his master Jade Sovereign, or the other 3 sovereigns, none of them would be able to survive the attack from Sunshot Divine Cannon. This kind of weapon was no longer a weapon of the mortal world. It was a weapon to slaughter gods. My money is not wasted. Emperor Yangfeng looked at the sky that was slowly healing and muttered, "Imperial Preceptor, it's a pity you are not here to see this sight." In the prairie, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was bringing the army back to eternal peace, when he suddenly raised his head to see a tear in the sky. His heart trembled violently. "Cult Master Qin, you have finally completed the weapon to slaughter gods." On the cannon battery, Qin Mu dispersed his vital qi, and the light screen from the jade plate vanished. The pill furnaces were also extinguished one by one, which caused the formations to stop operating. The huge Sunshot Divine Cannon gradually descended from the sky. Qin Mu raised his head to look above and muttered to himself, "Since it's called Sunshot Divine Cannon, should I shoot at the sun once?" Everyone around him shuddered, and Emperor Yangfeng hurriedly snatched the jade plate from his hands while shouting, "Supervisor Qin, if the sun was destroyed by your shot, how would the people survive? Your idea is too dangerous, off with your head." A contrarian among the civil and military officials immediately said, "Your Majesty, a ruler doesn't go back on his words." Emperor Yangfeng turned his head to look at him before waving a hand and saying, "I will certainly go back on my words. But since you can't see the need for it, why should I keep you? Retire and return home." "Dear Minister Qin, how do I use this jade plate?" Activating Sunshot Divine Cannon required the jade plate in Qin Mu's hand. Since the battery was too large, it wasn't easy to control, so Qin Mu had created a tool to interact with it. The jade plate could then have the huge divine cannon shoot wherever he pointed. It was the central control of Sunshot Divine Cannon. Qin Mu taught Emperor Yangfeng how to use the jade plate, which was simple to learn and use. As a great master in forging, Qin Mu could simplify the most complicated things, and with just this point, he surpassed other great masters of forging by leaps and bounds. Emperor Yangfeng put away the circular plate. After a while, he took it out to play with it before putting it back again. Some time later, he took it out once more to fiddle with it again. Qin Mu said kindly, "Your Majesty can try firing one shot." Emperor Yangfeng looked at him, then said unpleasantly, "One shot and the treasury will be emptied." I'm not like you, spending money like flowing water. Hasn't the crown prince come back from the snow plains? He should have brought back quite a lot of treasure, Qin Mu said. But also I also can't shoot randomly. The money in the imperial treasury can't be touched carelessly. There are many things to be done in the empire, and which of them don't need money? Emperor Yangfeng put away the jade plate, but after a moment, Qin Mu saw him taking it out again sneakily. He couldn't help shaking his head. If Emperor Yangfeng never fired a shot, he would definitely be unable to have a pleasant sleep. He would just keep thinking of doing it. However, his rationality would tell him that he couldn't misuse Sunshot divine cannon, so he would end up at a loss. Let him be, Qin Mu thought to himself. Suddenly, a couple officials from the Department of Sky Supervision carried over some thick scrolls. In their lead was Hua Shanling, who greeted Qin Mu and said, "Supervisor Qin, we at the Sky Supervision platform have noticed some peculiarity when you shot at the sky earlier. Supervisor has many algebra experts here, so I would like to invite Supervisor to help us calculate it." "What peculiarity?" Qin Mu asked with bewilderment. When the sky was torn, there was a change in the astronomical phenomenon. Hua Jingling of Department of Sky Supervision, who was at the side, then added, "The sky split open, and the astronomical phenomenon in the sky shifted, returning back to normal only after the tear was healed. We recorded the shift in angles, but since our attainments in algebra aren't high, it's hard for us to calculate what happened. Lord Qin, please take a look, these are the previous star charts." He flipped open the star charts and went through them page by page. Qin Mu observed that the celestial bodies that Department of Sky Supervision had recorded each year had a regular pattern. Their changes were very minute. This is the star chart after Lord Qin fired that cannon. Hua Jingling flipped to the last page and pointed at the star chart. After that cannon, the sky turned dark for an instant, and the armillary sphere recorded the celestial bodies in the sky. The sun had shifted 1 3/4 at the time, but when the tear recovered, the sun moved back. During the darkness, the other stars had also shifted. Meanwhile, at the location of the tear, there had been no stars at all. This is definitely not normal. In the tear, there should have been 107 stars. Qin Mu was still puzzled. Would it be because the power of the divine cannon was too strong, causing distortion in vision which resulted in what looked like the shifting of celestial bodies? There's this possibility, Hua Jingling said. However, Department of Sky Supervision uses an armillary sphere, which is a spirit weapon, as well as a heavy spirit treasure. Our vision can be distorted, but the armillary sphere couldn't be tricked like that. The star chart on the armillary sphere moves together with the celestial bodies in the sky. If the star chart on the armillary sphere moved, it means that the stars in the sky had really moved. But the most crucial thing is, why were there no stars at the location of the tear? Qin Mu's heart stirred slightly, and he probed, "What you mean is?" The people looked at one another, and Hua Shanling coughed lightly. "Before doing any calculations, we at the Department of Sky Supervision don't dare to make any guesses, and can't be responsible for anyone else's guesses. Please forgive us, Lord Qin. These fellows are mysterious." Qin Mu frowned and said, "The experts with me are mostly algebra experts of Dao Sect and Little Jade Capital. They are currently planning to leave and return to Dao Sect and Little Jade Capital. I don't dare to say if I can ask them to stay." Xu Xinghua walked up and said with excitement, "I also have some attainments in algebra." Qin Mu smiled and said, "It's naturally good for Brother Xu to come and help. I will go invite Dao Master Lin Xian and Wang Muren." Jin Yang immediately said, "Since my young master is helping, the 1,000 coins that we owed. Even if you don't help, I have no lack of algebra experts here." Qin Mu replied without even turning his head. Jin Yang's expression instantly turned black. "Miser! Yang Zi, Don't be angry. Actually, I would also like to know what had happened to the sky after Cult Master Qin fired off that shot. What he said isn't wrong as well, with or without our help, it changes nothing for him, it's just a matter of time, Xu Xinghua said. Qin Mu found Dao Master Lin Xian, Mu Qingdai, and the rest of the young experts. After gathering everyone, Wang Muren asked, "What is Cult Master calculating this time?" Qin Mu looked at Hua Jingling of Department of Sky Supervision, whose gaze was sparkling as he said, "An astronomical phenomenon." Dao Master Lin Xian smiled and said, "Astronomical phenomenon." Cult Master Qin had cultivated our Dao sects Dao Sword, and the fourth writing of Dao Sword is nothing else but an astronomical phenomenon. With him around, what use are we? Qin Mu shook his head and said, "The fourth writing of Dao Sword calculates a normal astronomical phenomenon. What Department of Sky Supervision wants us to calculate is an abnormal one." Dao Master Lin Xian and the other Daoists became bewildered. There was a difference between a normal and an abnormal astronomical phenomenon. Hua Jingling explained the astronomical phenomenon his department had observed and said, "The stars moving and the stars in the tier disappearing, this kind of astronomical phenomenon is definitely not normal. It's like the stars are hanging on a piece of curtain." Mu Qingdai blurted out. Hua Jingling clapped his hands and said, "That's right. It's like they are all hanging on a piece of curtain." Lord Qin used the beam to tear apart this curtain, so the sun, moon and the stars split to both sides. All of the young people looked at one another with grim expressions. The astronomical phenomenon was hung in the sky. Xu Xinghua raised his head to look at the sky while composing himself. He asked, "Cult Master Qin, what do you want us to calculate?" "According to the shift in stars caused by that beam, we will have to calculate the height and thickness of the sky." Qin Mu looked at the officials and asked, "Is that your intention?" The officials of Department of Sky Supervision looked at each other and nodded. "Lord Qin is wise," Hua Jingling said in a hoarse voice. "In the past, we felt that the sky is boundless, and the thickness of the sky is also boundless. However, that beam from Lord Qin made us realize that there might be a limit to the height of the sky, and its thickness as well. The stars in the sky may not be as far away as we thought, and the sun seemed to also be." He didn't dare to continue saying. Qin Mu looked at everyone and said, "What does everyone feel?" They were all young people, so even though their origins were different, their inheritances were different, and even their factions and philosophies were different, they were all very curious. Every one of them looked up at the sky. Dao Master Lin Xian retracted his gaze and said, "Since Cult Master Qin's beam showed us that the sky has a height and thickness, why can't we calculate it?" Everyone nodded in acknowledgement. "We need to know the dates of the stars shifting in order to be able to calculate," Wang Muren said. "My Department of Sky Supervision has recorded all the stars, including the sun," Hua Jingling said right away. "This makes it much easier." Everyone immediately sprung to action, and after a long time, they calculated the numbers. When they looked at them, their faces became grim and dazed. "I won't believe it." A Daoist from Dao sect suddenly got up and smashed his 8 trigrams on the ground, breaking them to pieces. He then again shouted out angrily, "I won't believe it." When he was done, he left. The other algebra experts were silent. Long Yu muttered, "This is impossible, we must have calculated wrongly, this is absolutely impossible." The minds of the Dao sect's experts had already crumbled, and they chuckled. "We must have calculated wrongly, the sky cannot be so thin. It's definitely wrong." Hua Jingling said firmly. "That's right, it's definitely wrong," many others chimed in. Xu Xinghua shook his head and said, "It cannot be that so many of us had calculated wrongly, right? Everyone's numbers are the same, so the result is correct, the sky is this high and this thick. It's impossible." "Impossible," Long Yu stumbled away in a daze. He was slightly crazy. Mu Qingdai was giddy. She squatted down on the ground, then sat down. Qin Mu looked at the numbers they had calculated and sunk into deep thought. The sky was 10,000 miles high, yet the thickness was only a pathetic 1,000 yards. This meant that in that thickness of 1,000 yards, there was a sun, a moon, a galaxy, and countless other stars. How was this possible? He. His mind had also slightly crumbled as he chuckled non-stop. He laughed till tears were almost pouring from his eyes as he sat down and slapped his knee repeatedly. Cult Master Qin, what are you laughing about? Dao Master Lin Xian shouted out, while staring at him angrily. Abandoned people. Qin Mu laughed loudly and pointed at his nose, almost crying from laughter. You are an abandoned person. You are also an abandoned person. And you are all abandoned people. Everyone looked at him coldly as his finger pointed at every single one of them. When he finally pointed at Xu Xinghua, his laughter quelled and his face became terrifyingly cold. You are also an abandoned person. Xu Xinghua frowned. The sky was only this high and this thick. Not to say a sun, a moon, and many stars, not even a mountain could be put there. Yet there was a sun, a moon, and the galaxy above, so there was only one possibility. The resplendent stars, the blazing sun, the bright moon, and the galaxy that was filled with millions and millions of stars like a long river were all fake. They were all painted there. The sky was like a seal that sealed their world, showing them the sun, moon, stars, constellations, and the galaxy that were all fake. In great ruins, there was God-broken mountain range, all around which no sun could be seen. When it came to night time, the darkness invaded, so the stars and moon could never be seen either. The people of great ruins were the people abandoned by gods. However, the life forms in the whole world were the same as the abandoned people of great ruins. They were all abandoned people. Daoist Lin Xian suddenly shook his sleeves and said coldly, I'm not an abandoned person. Disciples of Dao sect, let's go, return to the mountain. As he walked, tears suddenly filled his face. Dao follows the nature, follows the F*King fake nature. The young Dao master strained his throat as he bellowed at the sky, all my effort in cultivating was used on F*King fake nature. This video will end here.